Hey everyone, welcome to my channel where the strange, the unexplained, and the downright creepy come to life. From real-life encounters with the paranormal to bizarre, true stories that'll keep you up at night, I bring you the eerie tales you won't hear anywhere else. If you're into late-night chills, mysterious happenings, and things that go bump in the night, you're in the right place. Subscribe, buckle up, and let's dive into the unknown. The story begins with Aidan Kell, a freelance medical journal editor who lives alone in the top floor of a quiet duplex on Maple Ridge Court. His days are silent and uneventful until he begins experiencing sleep paralysis shortly after moving in. At first, he dismisses it as stress or poor sleep, but when the episodes increase in frequency and intensity, he installs night lights and a camera in his bedroom. The footage reveals a shadowy, unmoving figure appearing only when the lights go out, something that seems to emerge from the darkness itself. Aidan becomes obsessed with understanding it, uncovering a terrifying pattern. The figure only appears when the room is completely dark. Aidan's friend Natalie reveals a chilling connection. Years ago, a young woman named Elise Harper was stalked and died in the now-sealed apartment above his. Elise had tried to hide in the dark, believing it would keep her safe, only to die suffocating in the wall behind her closet. The nightly hauntings intensify, and Aidan finds himself not just seeing Elise's spirit, but reliving her final moments, frozen in fear, unseen, and waiting. Eventually, he realizes Elise doesn't mean harm. She's trapped, playing out the night she died in a desperate loop. To free her, Aidan confronts her in a lucid dream, facing not only her but the shadowy figure of her stalker. Using the power of light, he drives the dark entity away, allowing Elise's spirit to finally break free and dissolve into peace. But just as Aidan begins to recover, the narrative shifts abruptly to a new, chilling voice. A stalker watching another girl, fixated, obsessive, and closing in. The horror is no longer supernatural. It's human, and it's just beginning again. I still had my hand around her neck when she turned to face me. One moment I was staring at the back of her head. Then suddenly I was looking into her eyes. My eyes. Her body collapsed in on itself, melting in my grasp, only to stiffen again in my palm. The sensation was sickening, like holding a warm, creamy wad of decaying dog flesh. I let go. Her feet landed on the floor. She cocked her head and stepped forward, and I stepped back, despite being a foot taller. I knew I wasn't in control. Had I cornered her, or had I been lured? Want your life back? She asked. What if I say no? Her eyes grew hazy, then turned pure white. Even without pupils, it felt like she was staring into my soul. What if I like being young and beautiful? What if I think you don't deserve this little life? We were eye to eye, except now she was taller, her presence more menacing. What if your friends, your family, love me more? What if I wear the skin better than you ever could? I craned my neck up. Her proportions were all wrong now. Torso stretched too long, legs stubby, her neck curling down to leer over me. The soft, youthful skin shriveled and peeled away like old paint. You don't deserve to be me, but I deserve to be you. Her hair fell in brittle clumps. Her flesh clung to bone. I could have let you die, she croaked. But I gave you a body worthy of you, as rotten outside as you are within. Her breath smelled of decay. She raised one hand, 3 long, skeletal fingers, and placed it over my face. My chest collapsed. The air was sucked from my lungs. When she removed her hand, I was slammed against a wall. I was staring at an old man, white beard, sagging skin, eyes milky with judgment. Without a word, he turned and disappeared into shadow. I looked at my hands, youthful, clean. I traced my face. The wrinkles were gone. I pulled a phone from my back pocket. My reflection, blue eyes. I was me again. The screen lit up. New message from Mom. Dinner's almost ready. When are you coming home? I stood on the street, staring through glowing windows. Mom washed dishes under the flicker of the TV. Dad lounged in his chair. I was late for dinner. I opened the door. The house smelled like her cooking. The table was set for 3. Finally, you're home, Mom smiled. Dinner's ready. Dad ruffled my hair as he passed. I stood awkward in the foyer. He gestured to the seat across from him. I sat down. Safety, warmth, it had been so long. Felt surreal. Mum pulled the meatloaf from the oven. The pan hovered, steam rising. I was happy. Then I noticed her hands. Her skin hissed against the hot metal, blistering, and instantly mending. I looked at Dad, his eyes were pale, white. Mum's too. A cold shudder rolled through me like biting foil. I started to sweat. There was someone at the window, tall, misproportioned. Her voice echoed, "You may not like your new reality." I wasn't the only one who'd been replaced. Before that, I was just a freelance graphic designer, less glamorous than it sounds. Most days I was hunched over a laptop, making logos for local bakeries or wedding invites for strangers. So when I landed a 6-month contract in Albany, I jumped at it. They even offered a room in a shared house owned by the company's landlord, Mr. Garrison. Old school type, my supervisor warned. Keeps to himself. Doesn't like noise. The house was a crumbling Victorian with a sagging wraparound porch that groaned under every footstep. My housemates, Mel and Troy, were chill. Troy was a true crime nut. Mel had a vintage VHS camcorder and liked recording the feeling of things. I didn't ask. Weird things started happening in the second week. My toothbrush moved. My shampoo level dropped even though I hadn't touched it. I thought it was just one of them messing around. Still, I bought a lock for my door. Paranoid much? Troy laughed. I laughed too, but kept it locked. Then Mel showed up with a tape. Tape 23, found in the crawl space above her closet. No label, just the number. She had a VCR, of course. "You guys want to watch?" I didn't, but nodded. The footage was grainy. At first, it looked like a home tour. Then it lingered too long on a girl brushing her hair. A masked man appeared in the reflection. Then cut. Static. "This isn't fake," Mel whispered. "Look at the timestamp. 1996. We found more tapes. Dozens. Some with names, others with dates. I felt sick. Someone had filmed these, archived them. Our landlord lived alone in the basement. Too old for stairs, he claimed. That night, I heard footsteps above my room. I was on the top floor. The steps were slow, intentional. I told Mel. "It's an old house," she said. "Pipes groan. Floors creak." I didn't believe it. The steps continued every night. I started noticing more. My laptop was slightly ajar. My things subtly moved. Felt like the house was watching me. The tapes consumed us. Every night after work, Mel and I watched. The pattern was always the same. Someone stalked, then killed. One tape showed a woman at her desk, same as me. The reflection in her screen showed a man standing behind her. Then she turned wide-eyed, gone. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. It was my office. Same layout, same lights. That night I stayed late. At 11:45 p.m., I heard footsteps. Closer, then right outside my door. I couldn't move. I took a photo of the hallway, nothing. But I knew someone was there. I told Mel and Troy. Troy's face drained. "The tapes?" he asked. "You think Garrison's been filming us?" I nodded. "Watching us." I didn't need to answer. That afternoon, I felt it again. Someone in the house. Alone, I searched every room. Then I found it. A hidden door in the basement, behind a shelf. Inside, a small room. Cameras in the corners. Hundreds of tapes. Labels scratched out. My stomach twisted. I backed out. Slammed the door. I had to leave. But then I heard them. Footsteps on the stairs. Slow. Heavy. Mr. Garrison. He knew. I was frozen. The basement door creaked open. "Mel? Troy?" he called. "You two aren't playing tricks, are you?" I didn't breathe. I prayed he wouldn't come down. But his footsteps stopped at the top. The air thickened. My heart thundered. Then, I heard the sound of another door creaking open. I ran. "Jennings posted 4 hours ago. Is everything okay? This has to be some sick joke." I've reported his comments. Plus, angelic whispers, "It's been 4 hours. I'm frozen in my chair. I heard something bang in the kitchen about an hour ago. But things fall sometimes. It's 3 a.m. My bedroom door is locked. I'm afraid to make a sound. Feels like the second I break this silence. Am I being crazy? I've been officially creeped out from making these ASMR videos, but I really love doing it. And this is probably just a bad joke. I might just go to bed soon. With the lights on, of course. It's times like this I wish I had a dog. Or a roommate. I'll just keep browsing Reddit until I fall asleep. He said the window in the kitchen was open, but it never is. Wait, what's this? Railgen 1 minute ago. Plus angelic whispers. What did you make me do? When the man came into the kitchen, I thought it was your husband, your boyfriend, or whoever. I strangled him, and I waited for you. I waited a long time. After a while, I went into the bedroom and saw someone asleep in bed. She was fast asleep. I knew it wasn't you right away. I was in the wrong house. I had to kill her too before I left. Both of them are dead because you wouldn't meet me. And then you lied. Why did you lie? You seem so genuine in your videos, but you're not. You're a liar, an actor. You think you're helping people, but you're not. I really thought we had a connection, but I was wrong. I'll still find you. Maybe I got the house wrong, but I know for sure what street you live on. I'm gonna try a couple more houses before dawn. I'm writing this on my phone. There's a house with a light on I see. That might be yours. I know you said you have trouble sleeping. Well, so do I. Railgen continued. It's definitely your house this time. I saw the light go off. Edit. Looky, a Reddit account too. Edit X2. Why do people lie? Edit X3. I am not a liar. Edit. Just waiting here until the sun goes down. I have to clean up this mess. This was fun at first, but now it isn't. Now that I realize what I've done, please don't hate me. Edit. I can't do this. There is a mess everywhere. I tried to dispose of. I can't do this. I can't do this. I know what I've done is wrong. I can't do this. Please don't hate me. This world is full of liars and I should have been stronger. I'm sorry. When the police come, they will find 2 bodies in this house because I can't live with this. I will hurt more people, I think, if I try. And 2 more down the road. In the gray brick house. 5 houses down. I have hers piled. I'm sorry. So sorry. But where she is now, she is one. And where I'm going, I'm so sorry. I know many of you don't believe this. And that may be a good thing. But to my family, and hers, I will never be forgiven for what I've done. Edit. I just woke up from trying to hang myself. It didn't work. I guess because I woke up on the floor. The rope had snapped. I won't try again. When I kicked the chair away from my feet and started to strangle, I felt immediate regret. Not for what I'd done, but that I decided to kill myself. I'm not sure I feel any remorse now at all, since it was decided I should live and not die for what I've done. I was not in the wrong, even though it's sad 2 innocent people died. It was not my fault. Thank you for being with me during this. I'm leaving the house now. Goodbye. It might be a while before I watch any ASMR videos, but there are some good channels out there, and pretty girls running them, so it will be hard. I don't know if they're all liars, but I hope they're not. My boss approached me one day with an unusual offer. He asked if I'd be interested in guarding a hospital for 3 nights. The pay, he said, was exceptional, far beyond anything I'd received in my previous gigs. It required experience and someone trustworthy. I'd never been offered a hospital post before, and the challenge intrigued me. If I handled it well, there was even talk of a salary increase. I accepted without hesitation. It would have been foolish to decline. My boss looked visibly relieved. Apparently, he'd struggled to find anyone willing to take the job. You'll start next week on Thursday, he said, shaking my hand. Be there before 10 p.m. I grinned. You bet, sir. The days leading up to the assignment passed uneventfully. I pulled a few night shifts at places like a university and a McDonald's. But when Thursday arrived, I was ready. I left early, around 8 p.m., even though the drive only took 30 minutes. You never know what might happen, and I figured arriving early to get familiar with the place wouldn't hurt. How could I guard a building I didn't know? Traffic was heavier than expected, and I arrived at 8:40 p.m. The hospital loomed before me. An old brick building with a kind of Romanesque charm. It wasn't large. From the outside, it looked like it had 3 short floors. I pushed open the front door and approached the reception. The woman behind the counter smiled warmly, putting me at ease. "Hello," I said. "I believe I was hired for the night shift. I'm a bit early, though. I was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. "What's your name, darling?" she asked. "Jake." She typed something into her computer. "Is your boss Michael?" "Yes, ma'am." "All right. One of the other guards will be here shortly to go over the procedures. Would you like a cup of coffee while you wait?" "I'd love one. Black, please." She chuckled and returned minutes later with the best-tasting cup of coffee I'd ever had. Everything felt like it was falling into place. As I finished the last sip, a tall man approached. He gave me a once-over, sizing me up. "You must be the guard, huh?" he said. "Didn't expect someone so young." I stood and offered my hand. "Nice to meet you, sir. I assume you'll be showing me around." He didn't shake my hand. "Follow me." He led me to the security room, explained the camera setup, and gave me a brief tour. The basics were familiar until he stopped at the desk. "One last thing," he said. "You see that paper? Read it. Those are the rules. Follow them, no matter how strange they seem. We'll know if you don't." He didn't wait for questions. "Good luck, kid," he said, then left. It was 9:30 p.m. I picked up the paper. 7 rules. Some sounded like standard protocol. Others were bizarre. Rule 1. Be in the security room by 10 p.m. patrol from 10:15 to 11 o'clock. If you find anyone inside, ask them to leave. Rule 2. Between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., a young woman may knock asking to see her husband. Ignore her. Do not respond. Rule 3. Keep the ICU lights on at all times. If they go out and you hear screaming, hide in the nearest bathroom until it stops. Rule 4. If a girl with a teddy bear appears in the cafeteria, sit with her in silence. If she looks at you, return to the security room. If she speaks, reply until she leaves. Rule 5. At 1 a.m., check the general ward. If a patient is sitting upright, ask if they're okay and follow their request, but ignore any casual conversation. Rule 6. If it rains, open the door and let people in for shelter. Ensure they leave. If one goes missing, you'll see them on the cameras. Do not look at them. Rule 7. If the cameras go off during your shift, hide. Pray. Hope they don't find you. I laughed. It had to be a joke. A test, maybe, to see if I'd follow instructions without question. I reread them just in case. If my boss was watching, I was going to prove myself. At 10 p.m., the shift officially began. I watched the monitors, phone in hand. 15 minutes passed quickly. At 10:15, I left the security room to patrol. I started on the top floor, then worked my way down. The elevator helped. Each hallway and room was empty, silent. The job was usually like this, quiet, easy money. The second floor was just as uneventful. I checked my phone. 10:32 p.m. Still time to sweep the ground floor. But something started to bother me. The hospital was completely empty. No staff, no patients. Strange for any hospital. It felt off. The ground floor housed the ICU, security room, cafeteria, and front door. I planned to sweep the ICU first and finish with the cafeteria, maybe grab a snack. But as I passed through the ICU, I froze. A man stood alone in one of the rooms. 70s, silent, staring. I remembered Rule 1. Ask them to leave. "Excuse me, sir," I said. "You're not supposed to be here. Please, kindly leave the building." He didn't speak, just looked confused. I repeated the request, and eventually he nodded and walked outside. "Have a good night, sir," I said. Just before he vanished into the darkness, he turned and said, "Be careful of the surgeon." I frowned. A scare tactic? A line scripted by my boss? I brushed it off and resumed patrol. No one else around. I grabbed a coffee and a croissant from the cafeteria. It was 10:53 p.m. when I returned to the security room. I played games on my phone, time slipping by. When I finally checked again, it was nearly midnight. That's when I saw it, the ICU lights were off. Panic gripped me. The rule had been clear. The lights must stay on. And if they went out, especially with screaming, I had to hide. I left the room, hurrying to the ICU. Then I heard it. Screams. Blood-curdling. Agonizing screams echoing through the halls. I stopped, heart racing. This couldn't be part of a test. It was too real. I heard a door open. Then footsteps. They were getting closer. I bolted to the nearest bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and held my breath. The footsteps entered. Silence followed. Then humming. A song. Welcome to the hospital. You can come, but you can't go. He knocked on each stall door, the sound getting closer. Then bang! He knocked on mine. Louder. Harder. I saw his feet beneath the door. Still. Waiting. Is anyone there? He asked in a tone laced with madness. Open up. Don't be shy. I said nothing. Come on, Jake, he continued. I need your help with something. My blood ran cold. He knew my name. I remained silent. Minutes passed. Then he sighed and walked away. See you soon, Jake, he said before disappearing. I didn't move for 10 more minutes. Once the screaming stopped, I crept out, checked the hall, and tiptoed to the ICU. I switched the lights back on and ran straight to the security room, heart hammering. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't a test. I woke up around 2:45 a.m., my body and mind slow to adjust. For a few seconds, I had no idea where I was. Then it hit me, I was in the middle of a night shift. Still groggy, I headed to the cafeteria for a coffee to keep myself awake. The cafeteria was empty. As the machine hissed and poured dark liquid into my cup, I turned and jumped. A little girl was sitting at a table. She hadn't been there a second ago. She wore a white skirt, a pink t-shirt, and had curly blonde hair just past her shoulders. In her arms was a teddy bear with button eyes, one dangling by a thread. She stared at me expressionless. I froze, trying to remember the rules. Something about a girl in the cafeteria. Then she turned her head. Her stare locked onto mine. Rule 4. What was it? Something about sitting next to her? Talking? I hesitantly sat down. She didn't speak at first, just stared. The silence stretched. My skin crawled. Then she giggled, covering her mouth with one hand. You forgot the rules, she said, voice teasing and sharp. Panic rose in my chest. Want to play hide and seek? She asked. I'll count to 60 and then we'll look for you. I bolted, leaving my coffee and sanity behind. As I ran, her voice floated after me. 1, 2, 3, forever with me you'll be. 4, 5, 6. In darkness you'll cease to exist. Back in the security room, I grabbed the rules. Rule 4. If there's a little girl with a teddy bear in the cafeteria, sit next to her and don't say a word. If she looks at you, walk back to the security room. If she speaks to you, talk back until she leaves. I'd messed up. Then the security cameras blinked off. Rule 7. If the security cameras turn off any time throughout the night, hide and pray for your life, they won't find you. I ran. The front doors wouldn't budge. Her voice counted ever higher, echoing through the building. Upstairs, patient's room, empty. I climbed onto the bed, pried open the ceiling tiles, and pulled myself into the crawl space just as I heard her enter the room. I know you're in here. I heard you drop something, she called. A broom handle poked at the ceiling. I held my breath. Guess you're not here then, she sang. When I was sure she was gone, I climbed down. I tiptoed down the hallway, heart hammering. I figured she was upstairs now. Maybe downstairs would be safe. I was wrong. I turned a corner and saw a silhouette near the ICU. A man. He turned. What's a patient of mine doing out of his room so late? It was him, the surgeon from before. I ran. I reached the janitor's closet and slipped inside, hiding behind bins and bags. Come on now, his voice snarled. I need to inspect your organs. I trembled in the dark. He opened the bathroom door, then turned toward my hiding spot. You were smart enough to hide somewhere else. I'm impressed. He opened the closet, but he didn't look carefully. He muttered something and shut the door. I stayed there, paralyzed. Somewhere in the building, a drill word. A man screamed. Laughter echoed through the vents. I checked my phone. 5:45 a.m. Just 15 more minutes. Eventually, I passed out. I was woken by the real janitor. He found me curled behind cleaning supplies. "Rough night?" he asked gently. I nodded. It was over. Daylight made the hospital feel normal again. I went home, collapsed, and ignored every call from my boss. A week later, I returned to my regular, uneventful shifts. The boredom was a blessing. After quitting my factory job and struggling to find something better, I came across a local ad. Hiring night shift security guard. No experience needed. I called the number. Morris answered. He invited me to come by the next day. So I'm hired. Yeah, kid. The next evening, I arrived early. Morris, short with a coffee-stained mustache, greeted me. "You must be Conway, named after the singer." "Probably. My mum loves old country." He laughed and shook my hand. The job was Monday to Friday, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. "You might cover weekends. You'll get day shift when I'm dead and cold," he joked. "I've had this job since I was your age. It's a good one." He walked me through the basics. Monitor cameras, answer calls, patrol. The biggest rule, respect the dead. Don't let anyone in. Only me and the other guys have keys. That night, Jackson handed me my badge. Things were quiet. I sipped coffee, watched the monitors, browsed my iPad. Then at 1 a.m., a knock at the front door. "Morris, in street clothes." "Conway, open up. I need in." "Forgot my medication." "Where's your key?" I asked. "Forgot it." Drove over in my car. "What color's your car?" He paused. "Black." Morris drove a red truck. "You don't drive a car," I said. His face twisted. "Let me in or I'll fire you." I backed away and ran to the office. On the monitor, his face pressed close to the lens. "Smart boy," he hissed. Then he vanished. Near the morgue, the camera feed changed. People were standing, talking. I ran. Inside, bodies that should have been locked away stood upright. One turned. "Hello there." Then nothing. I awoke surrounded by the dead. A man with a cane. A woman with a slit throat. Another with a car crash scar. A gunshot wound. "What's happening?" I asked. "We're awake for a little while," the elderly man said. "We'll go back soon." "What note?" He shrugged. They reminisced like it was a family gathering. I tried talking with them. One woman described the man who killed her, his tattoos, his laugh. I thought I might help. Maybe this meant something. But one by one, they began to shuffle back into the drawers. The last to go turned to me. "Tell Morris we said hi." Then the morgue was silent again. The job pays well. But every night now, I bring salt. I memorize new rules. And when I hear footsteps that aren't mine, I don't look back. Working the graveyard shift as a cop sucks for a myriad of reasons, chief among them being the eeriness of the night. That might make me sound like a baby, considering I'm no small guy, but it's true. There's something deeply unsettling about sitting alone in your car. No human life in sight, wrapped in an unnatural silence. Maybe it wouldn't feel so alien if I didn't live in a heavily forested part of Wyoming. Out here, even nearby lights get swallowed by the dense foliage. Most nights are uneventful, and I usually kill time by catching up on shows or reading a book. If a call does come in, it's usually something small, wellness checks, or a drunk guy loitering outside a bar. I don't mind them. They at least pull me closer to civilization, away from the endless gravel roads where I'm supposed to be watching for speeders. 2 nights ago was my first graveyard shift after a short vacation. Jimmy, the officer who covered for me while I was out, handed me the keys with a laugh. He finally understood what I meant about the shifts being creepy. I chuckled, reassured him I had it from here, and told him to bring something next time to keep his mind off the quiet. Then I had a thought. Why not make the shift a little more bearable and invite him along? He could either sit in a dimly lit precinct with only one other guy, or hang out in the cruiser, drink a few beers, and shoot the shit with me. He took the offer. We found a designated spot to park, popped on a trashy horror movie, cracked open some beers, and settled in. Around 3 a.m., my work phone rang. I sighed, rubbed my eyes, and answered. It was Brian, the only other officer on duty, usually as expressive as a stone. But tonight, he was giggling like a kid. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "I got an emergency call from the old Amic factory on McCabin Road." I was confused. That place had no power, no phone lines. It had been abandoned for over a decade. Brian went on, laughing harder. Apparently, someone had broken in to steal equipment and got stuck inside. Jimmy and I locked eyes for a moment and burst out laughing. The absurdity of it all. Still, it was a call. I told Brian we'd check it out and decide whether to arrest the guy depending on his story. The factory was a 10-minute drive through bramble and dark, twisting roads. Once we reached the rusted gate, I got out to undo the chain. The building was a ruin, graffiti-covered walls, shattered windows, a relic of AIC's long-gone drilling operation. We flicked on our flashlights and split up to find a way in. Jimmy went left, I went right. Moments later, he started yelling. Instinct kicked in and I sprinted back, hand on my holster, heart pounding. I rounded the corner to find him doubled over in laughter. "Got you," he said. I was not amused. He saw it on my face and quickly apologized, claiming he just wanted to lighten the mood. I said I'd get him back and we pressed on. We found a broken window, shined our flashlights through to check for nails, and climbed inside. I radioed Brian to call in backup just in case. The place was pitch black. We called out but got no response. We made our way through the main room, our boots echoing on concrete, old drills and processors looming around us like rusted skeletons. At the back of the factory was a hallway that branched into three. Despite our better judgment, we decided to split up, agreeing to keep radios on and check in constantly. I figured the guy had probably gotten spooked and run into the woods, but protocol was protocol. As I reached the first room on the second floor, Jimmy was already on the third. I told him to slow down, make sure every room was cleared properly. No reply. I repeated myself. Still silence. Then, "Hey Tom, I see something." I asked what. "There's a hand. It's sticking out of a doorway. It's waggling a finger at me." My blood ran cold. "Don't go near it," I said. "Back up." Slowly, I started moving toward the stairs. The rational part of me whispered that maybe someone really was stuck and needed help. But something deeper, older, told me to run. As I crossed the building to reach him, my radio burst to life. "Tom, there's a face. Someone's looking at me." I didn't respond. I sprinted to the access door locked. I slammed my shoulder into it, screaming Jimmy's name. I heard him yelling faintly on the other side. I hit it again and again until it finally cracked open, and I shot up the staircase, gun drawn. At the third floor, another locked door. I fired round after round into the lock, but it didn't give. I kicked it until it finally gave way enough for me to slip through. Inside, the hallway was dark. A dim light glowed from a room at the far end. A figure stood in the doorway, still yet twitching. I called out to Jimmy. No response. Then he began giggling. The sound turned to manic laughter as he jerked from side to side, almost dancing. I lowered my gun. This had to be another prank. I yelled at him, furious. "You scared the hell out of me. This isn't funny anymore." I turned away. "I'm done. Wait for backup. Take the car home. Don't talk to me." I climbed out through the window, gathered my fallen gear, and waited in the dark. The backup cruiser arrived 5 minutes later. I climbed in. "Let's just go," I muttered. The officer turned to me and pointed to the factory. "What about your partner?" "He's up in the window." I looked up. A silhouette stood in the dim light, flashlight beam flickering. "He can bring the car." "I'm done." We drove off. The next day, Jimmy didn't show up to work. No call, no sign of the cruiser. We thought he was laying low after the prank. The day after that, he was still missing. We sent officers back to the factory. The cruiser was still parked out front. They called me in to help search. I was irritated but worried. We swept the building. Nothing until we reached the third floor. One officer vomited in the stairwell. Another shielded his eyes. I pushed past them. A trail of blood stained the floor. At the end of the hall, Jimmy hung from a doorway, mutilated beyond recognition. His stomach was torn open. His eyes and tongue were missing. His arms and legs. The veins had been pulled from them and braided into makeshift ropes. I didn't vomit. I just stood there, paralyzed. Then I stepped into the room behind his body and saw it. A crude pulley system, rigged with Jimmy's own veins. A grotesque marionette. Puppet. You have not enough humanizer words left. Upgrade your surfer plan.